these subdivisions were laid out long ago. Okay. So our problem is when we review the requirement for number of bedrooms based on the room count, because this has more than 8 rooms in the house in total, not counting bathrooms and, you know, closets, hallways, unheated areas, stuff like that. So I think what both Tom and I would like to do is go to the site and do a walkthrough and count the rooms.
Okay.
And we're hoping, we have a situation where my client bought the house. There was a past Title V, and he had no idea that there was any problem here. And he is hoping not to have to replace his system because it passed and he just bought the house. So between us getting the facts down, me and Tom, and bringing it to you folks, I'm hoping we can find a way that we can move forward from this, not allowing this situation to be a problem for the neighbors or anybody else zoning at any time in the future, and certainly not with any public health issues regarding the septic. So if we can start by doing the walkthrough and nailing down the number of rooms, that gives us a framework that we can work within, if you follow me. Now, the other issue here, I'm hoping you guys understand where I'm coming from, and that that is something that you're going to be willing to get into with this.
Sorry for jumping on late. I tried to click the link from the last meeting, and I was waiting and waiting and waiting, and I realized that that link wasn't good, or I'm going through Teams here. This is Tom. Sorry, Tom Ryder.
How you doing, Tom?
Good, doing good. Busy. It's been a busy day, so I've been running around, but. But anyways, as Fred was mentioning, I think first things first is just take a walk around. The owner is seeking to get a building permit to repair the roof, so they're not looking to add anything significant on right now, just repairing something structurally. I think I wouldn't want to step in the way of that, but we need to make sure that he's going to be compliant on whatever the decision is. And I think minimally it will need like a deed restriction, so people understand that this is a maximum of a 4-bedroom, unless they tie into sewer, or I'm not sure if 44,000 square feet would, with an IA technology, whether they could actually add another bedroom. I'm not sure. Is that enough?
Yeah.
I can't.
Well, it's his problem. My client's problem, if you're talking to me, Tom, is the money. He doesn't have the money to replace the septic. Now, that's just information that he's given me.
Right.
Tom, it's Missy. Yep. I just want to let you know that I'm looking at the assessor's records on this, and according to them, it's a 12-room house with 5 bedrooms. So just when you guys so just when you guys go do your walkthrough, that's what the assessor's records show. 12-room house with 5 bedrooms.
All right. Yeah, that's what we downloaded that.
Fred, did you say that, yeah, I know you said he bought it recently. What did he buy it as? A 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom? What?
I think he bought it as a 5-bedroom because the 5 bedrooms exist. So he wasn't, I don't think he was aware of any of the history of the property. It may have been a short sale. I'm not sure exactly what the arrangement was, but he's in a bind. I think until we get the facts of the matter, the number of bedrooms, establish a number of total rooms, we're just we're not going to be able to reach any conclusion. So, but the immediate need is the roof. He said with the warm weather, now when it rains, it's leaking again because it's not coming down in the form of snow. It's rain.
So I just
you know how long ago he bought it?
This Title V report is a year old. I was just looking at it. Let me see here.
He specifically requested, how to make it a 5-bedroom, and we responded back a couple of months ago that he couldn't sell it or use it as a 5-bedroom based upon the flows. So
right,
records are a 4-bedroom. That's what he has, a 4-bedroom. So he's trying to see what he can do. Minimally, I guess, in order to make it, considering, how much money he wants to put into it. But
right. Yeah. Okay, let's see. It was sold from Giuliani, who was the one we did the septic repair for way back. And it was sold by him to Quickly Way. I'm not sure. I think that's him. Quickly Way Construction LLC. And that was, it was recorded December 8th, 2020. So he's only owned it for a few months.
May I ask a question?
Go ahead,
Sure.
Alan.
What triggered all this?
He found out he had a problem with the number of bedrooms and the size of the system because our plan is on record with the Board of Health.
Okay.
So
okay.
it came to light.
I didn't understand how the roof tied into this, but now I get it.
Alan,
Yes.
it's my understanding that he applied for a building permit to repair his roof, and when the routing slip came through Missy's office, that's when she said, no, we have an issue with this system. So therefore, we have an understanding of why the routing slip works. Is that correct, Missy?
Yep.
Thank you.
And just so you know, Margaret is actually on now too, but as far as this 12 Sanders Circle, I have held up this building permit for the roof, and I was waiting for some kind of movement, some kind of something to go on, because many a times what happens as soon as I release this permit, and I've told the property owner this, it never comes back to me, and they go on their merry way, and there's no way for me to kind of pull it back in. So tonight, if you guys can let me know if the decision is that Fred and Tom are going to go ahead, make arrangements between themselves to go and do an inspection of the house itself, then I will release the permit for the roof. I just need to know that there's something on record somewhere. And on another note too, is this is not on the agenda because it comes under the within the 48-hour period. So this discussion is going to happen again with it being on the agenda for the next meeting. Maybe not the whole thing, but it's going to have to be brought up again just so there's no violations or anything.
That sounds good to me. We just really need to get it off the ground by doing the walkthrough.
Yeah, I think minimally we should have a deed restriction prepared. I don't like doing the deed restrictions, but if it protects, the buyers, and it meets certain Board of Health requirements, then that is helpful. But if it is indeed 7 or 8, 9, 10 bedrooms, whatever, and up as and we have a 4-bedroom deed restriction, it doesn't really, it doesn't pass a straight face test, really. But I can see nowadays that, there's more and more office space requirements for people, especially over the last year. As long as we can have a mechanism to say, indeed, this is an office, not a bedroom, and have a deed restriction on top of that, maybe those will work in the future. But as long as he's not marketing as more than a 4-bedroom, I feel like anything more would be punishing, unless there are minimal building. If he's pulling a building permit for a new kitchen or something, maybe he can fix the rooms that are so-called bedrooms to make them like really less privacy or something at the same time. So that's
he
just
does have some rooms like that. You'll see when you see the layout, Tom.
Okay.
But if he can fix the roof, he would be very appreciative of that, I'm sure.
Just make sure we have him on the hook to resolve it. So
you do. He knows he can't sell, he can't do anything with it until we get through this.
Okay.
Fred?
Yeah.
Fred? Can you hear me, Fred?
Yes. Yeah.
This is Andy. I have a question. Has he consulted, I don't know if this is an avenue, I hate like heck to say it, but in reality, he's been screwed by his real estate agent or his home inspector. Has he talked to anybody about any recourse with what's happened?
Yes, he has.
Okay,
he has
good.
an attorney, over in Milford. So he bought it from a bank, and his options are very few, and that's a tough situation.
Okay.
But I feel very comfortable with the situation as far as him following through or doing what the board decides. And we'll just on my end, I'm taking it one step at a time, and hoping that we can get to a result that is not going to hurt anybody real bad, but it's going to protect the public health going forward.
So will you two come up with a schedule when you can meet and do the walkthrough and let us know what your findings are?
I think we tentatively scheduled something for Friday. Did I discuss this with you, Fred, or was that with Missy?
Yeah, that wasn't with me.
It was with me.
Okay. So Friday, I can give you a call tomorrow, and then we can schedule something on Friday if you're available, or any other day we can figure out if you can't do Friday.
Okay, that sounds good. So you're going to call me, Tom?
Yeah, I'll give you a call. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, great.
All right, Fred, I'm going to go through Viewpoint now and release that permit.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Missy.
No big deal. Now that I know something's going, it's been brought to the board. It's moving forward somehow. I feel comfortable with that.
Good.
Thank you, Fred.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Good night, Fred.
Good night,
Right.
Fred. Thank you.
Bye.
Good evening, Margaret.
Hey, while Margaret's talking, I gotta step out for like 2 minutes. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Very good, thank you. You there, Margaret?
For some reason, she's
Hello.
muted. Okay, she's cut.
There. Can you hear me?
There she is.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm having all sorts of problems.
Welcome to the meeting. What is your subject this evening?
Okay, I'm here at, representing my client at 32 Park Street. It's just a typical septic repair, patent failed Title V due to a real estate transaction. So I'm trying to put in a new system in the backyard. I've only got one small little space due to wells and just the property configuration. And there's also in the backyard, we discovered a subsurface drainage pipe that traverses through the backyard. So I had to adjust my design to accommodate for this drainage pipe. And in order to do that, I had to push the system closer to the property line. And that's why I'm here requesting a waiver. Instead of 10 feet from the property line, I'm about 6. I have the property line on one side, and then I have this underground drainage pipe on the other. So I just had to reconfigure the septic design and everything to squeeze it into the one little space I have.
What was your distance to the abutters well on that side? Were you reducing to 6 feet?
Actually, it's the abutters property line, and there's really the abutters house and wells it's all wooded. It's all wooded over here, so it's really I'm not near their well at all. It's just the property.
Okay.
6 feet. Yeah, 6
Yes,
feet
okay.
from the property line.
Now, that wooded area, is there any, does it look like it might be an area of property that the neighbor may utilize at some point for a well or a pool or something like that?
No, because the abutting neighbors, really, the house isn't that close. So I don't foresee,
And Margaret, it's Missy. Doesn't that the abutting house also sit rather high off to? You're looking at 32 off to the left more than closer to the actual your project.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The house is quite a distance away. The house on the left-hand side, though I'm close to their property line. The house is quite a ways away with a lot of woods in between.
Okay, that's what we want to hear. Thank you. Missy, I don't see Tom's notes on this. What was his recommendation?
He was recommending it. He was supposed to send me over a memo, but I haven't gotten one yet. He thought he had sent one over, but he hadn't. So.
Okay. Alan, do you have any questions or concerns about this?
No, the only question I had is just for my own information, if you're willing to entertain it.
Yep.
I believe I read in the notes it was a 30-minute per inch perk.
Yes, it is. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Just for my own knowledge, is that common?
Well, 30 minutes per inch is on the higher side. And with a perk rate that slow, you end up with a bigger system. No, it's not the preferred perk rate. Anything 20 minutes per inch or less is good. You get up to 30 and that's not good. It drives up the cost of the system.
Okay, so that's why there's so many lines and the lines are so long.
That's correct. Yep. The higher the perk rate, the bigger the footprint.
Okay, yeah, I'm used to hearing 8, so just for my knowledge. So
Yeah. Anything 20 or above is just gets expensive.
Okay, thank you.
Alan, would you make a recommendation? A motion, please?
Yes, I make a motion to allow the local upgrade, distance the property line reduced from 10 feet to 6 feet for 32 Park Street, following Tom Ryder's recommendation.
Thank you, and I will step down and second the motion.
All right, Margaret, will you just get a chance, if I can just get the green card for that letter to the abutter, that would be great.
Will do. Thank you very much.
I think
Thank you,
that's it, right,
Margaret.
guys?
What's that?
That's it, right?
I think so. I got the green cards. I'll drop off and
Perfect.
I think we're good. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Margaret,
Yep.
Margaret, quick question before you go.
Yep.
Not Mendon BOH. Have you gone to East Street?
Oh, this morning, yes.
Okay, cool. I'll give you a call sometime and see if you're available.
Yeah, the best thing is just meet you out there.
Yeah, because all the trees got to be cut again. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, take care.
All right, sorry, my connection got disconnected.
So they
Andy,
just did 32 Park Street, Tom.
they just finished it?
Yep.
Okay.
Did you have
All right.
any, it's really based on your, recommendation. So if you have anything to add.
Yeah, no, this was one that we went out, did soil testing. The conditions were difficult due to high groundwater. And when they started preparing, they prepared a plan and then they found a drain. So they had to move the proposed septic. So there was an underground drain.
She just went over all that with us.
Yes.
Quick question, Tom. She doesn't show the elevations on the Butters property. I'm assuming that it meets breakout.
Yeah, she should show some spot. So say 105 elevation on top. Excuse me.
Yeah, I see changes on the subject property for the elevations, but when you look over on the Butters property, I don't see any elevations. That's why I'm assuming that the land must be upgrading enough to support the breakout. If not, was there a need for a barrier?
That's a good point. I'll pull up the CAD file and see if we have any shots over there, and then I can just throw some spot elevations on there, and if I need to put a barrier in, I will.
Thank you very much, Margaret.
Yeah. So the elevation right at the property line looks about 105.5 or so.
Correct.
Because there's no elevation there, but if you look at the contours, it's below the 106, but it's above the 105. So it's up there around 105.5. And what do you have for breakout?
104.
And you have 104.
Oh,
So
we're good.
right at the property line is 105.5 about.
Correct. And I'll double check to see if we got any spot shots over there, and I can just,
Yeah.
If there's an issue, I'll do something.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's the only reason. That's how I looked at it.
Yeah.
But you're right. They show some spot elevations would be good in the future. Right.
All right.
Thank you, Margaret.
All right, thank you.
All right, so now that Tom Ryder is still here, we can skip over the COVID stuff, and if you want, you've got 3 things that would involve Tom, and that is the complaint that we received for 65 and 67 Hartford Avenue West, discussing and revising the private well regulations and discuss septic inspections during the winter.
Okay, let's start with 65 and 67. Tom, you've had some correspondence with the EPA?
Yeah, the DEP. So
DEP?
yeah, so the DEP actually got a call from the EPA, who got a complaint probably the same complaint that we saw. And Michelle Delmar, she sent over the information today. And she just wondered if we need any help on it. And she said, it looks like you guys are taking a look at it. So I forwarded off the email and the letter to Missy because I just got it today. So it looks like a very similar complaint. It looks like somebody who is not does not want their name to be known is just referencing the vehicles and the wetlands and the septic system overflowing. Although I don't think anybody's living there right now. Missy and I, we did some research into what's going on, and I found that the one of the properties was sold in December, and it's for commercial use only. And the one that appears to be the commercial property was not sold, still in the previous owner's name, which he passed away. So it may be in probate right now.
Excuse me one second. Alan, you there?
Yes, I am.
Are you up to speed as to where the properties are that we're discussing?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Tom. Thank you.
Yeah, so I haven't found any transfer of property. So the question is, the one that was with all the complaints on it, the vehicles and the oil cans and paint and stuff like that, who is the responsible party to maintain it? So that's what I haven't found yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, because
Go ahead, Missy.
the property owner passed away. He was the only one listed on the deed or on the assessor's records. Nothing has been transferred for 67. 65 sold right before the owner passed away, and it's actually on the market. We haven't. That was the property that you guys received complaints on last summer.
Yes.
There are perk tests done. We have not submitted plans, so I think Tom and I are going to be formulating a letter to send to the current owner to let them know that we need a septic plan, and go through that avenue. And that property you can actually see online, and it's cleaned out. There's no one living in that one. 67. Yep.
On 67, do we have a new owner's name or a Title V inspection yet?
For 67, no, because that's where the original owner lived. That's where.
Okay, I got it backwards then. 65,
right.
Please.
Right, 65, we do not have a current Title V. We do know it's a failure. We need plans. And when I do get calls from people who are interested, I tell them that it's a failing septic system. The system needs to be replaced. And most of the time that's thank you very much and have a good day. And we don't hear back from them.
And that one's oddly on the deed recorded as commercial only. I found that very odd. So the person or entity that purchased the property turned around and sold or mortgaged it off to somebody else as the or process it to somebody else. But it says commercial only, which is kind of odd. 67, there's no record of transfer at all. It's still under the original owner's name. Wasn't there another engineer looking at this? Missy?
For 65,
65,
60,
yes.
no, just what I have, whoever did the perk test, I think it was Colonial.
Colonial, yeah, I thought another engineer was looking at it.
I probably someone who's looking to buy it, or maybe someone who was trying to figure things out for a potential buyer to purchase it, but nothing to my knowledge.
Okay,
I also I'm going to forward it to you now, Tom, for you to read, but I received a email from Bill McHenry from the Conservation Commission.
Yeah.
So, everybody's wondering who's taking the lead on this. And I don't know it's going to involve a bunch of different departments, conservation, possibly zoning, definitely building, because in the complaint that we received, they talk about a deck hanging off the house, which again with kids could get hurt or die. So that's a building department issue. I did reach out to the building inspector, John Erickson, today. He wasn't aware of the letter, so I emailed it to him and put a copy on his desk.
okay. Yeah, I was mentioning to Missy that if a process of condemning a structure is in the works, it's probably easier for the building inspector to do so. The boards of health can. I think it's more complicated. My courts can have to get involved in it as well. But we still can do our due diligence by reporting what the owner or prospective owners has to clean up. So if there indeed are gasoline and whatever chemicals laying about, we they'll need to be identified to clean up. The DEP probably could help out with that as far as finding resources as well.
With the current physical appearance of these properties and the issue that we know exists with 65, can we demand a Title V on 67?
Yes. Was there a recent? Do we have any record of the septic for the other system, Missy?
I'll look that up real quick.
There was an issue recently, Tom. When I say recent, it might have been 6 or 8 months ago, maybe 9 months ago. I went there with an officer because the tenants, that was a rental property. Both properties were owned by this one gentleman that passed, and the tenants of the first house, I say the first house, if you were coming from Mendon headed west on Hartford Ave, it would be the first one you run into. The tenants were complaining about when they flushed the toilet, sewage coming into the bathtub. I went there, witnessed it. Out the back of the house, I saw a 4-inch Schedule 40 pipe coming out of the ground, going directly into the wetlands. Supposedly it was coming out of the septic tank. I could not at that time see the septic tank, but also 8 to 10 feet up the back wall of the house was a 2-inch Schedule 40 plastic line, and water was gushing out of there like somebody flushed the toilet. It was a mess. It was just all mixed up. When we sent the letter, I was with an officer, and we attached a letter because it was during the summer and they go to New Hampshire. They've got a camp up there. Excuse me, it's my understanding they have a camp up there. So we left the letter on the door. It was not certified or anything, but Gibson was notified, and they did pump it. And I don't know if he did a Title V at that time, Missy.
No, I don't have a Title V. The only information I have on either one of those septic systems was it was pumped 1,000 gallons last summer by John Gibson on July 3rd. Other than that, I have no other information on either property as far as septic plans, pumping, anything like that.
So Andy, the house that you're referring to, is that the one, if you're facing the house, is the one on the right or the one with the garage on the left?
Nope, the one on the right. I keep getting the addresses mixed up. I
Yeah.
believe it's 65, because coming from town, the numbers are lower. Heading west, they go higher.
Yeah, that's what I think too. Right, yes, and we did did a soil test last summer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you did?
in that area. For that lot, for the 65.
Who pulled the perk test? Was it Bud?
I don't know. Colonial Engineering scheduled it.
Yeah, someone did it on the behalf of Bud.
Okay. Isn't Colonial Margaret?
No, she's civil site.
That's right. That's right. Did we ever get any results of that perk test?
I did not get any results from it.
We had we did a test pit in the back, and that area was difficult groundwater. We conducted one on the front right side. Soils were much better, but it was very close to the well, so it'd be a condition where they would have to relocate the well. Yeah. Yeah, I do have the results. Just I gotta pull them up. 65, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, we had better results in the front yard, but it was near the well, and it was like it was a sandy loam. It was a sandy loam condition, and then when you got below 7 feet, it turned back into peat. So it was like an old wetland, that whole area, one time.
So it's been filled.
Yeah, I mean the road was filled. Probably, the state and the property owners probably cooperated back like 80 years ago to fill up the whole area.
So Tom, let me ask you a question. If at 7 feet you found peat, you have to keep going 4 more feet to get virgin material, correct?
So the sea horizon was actually 4 feet, from 36 to 84, and from 84 to 111 went back to peat. So there was just enough. It was just enough for 4 feet of naturally occurring material. But for repairs,
Okay.
you could include the B horizon too, so that doesn't really matter. But for the backyard, there was only 10 inches of sea horizon, and then I believe it went to peat.
Lots of water. That place is a mess.
Yeah. So it's not like they can do new construction there. It looks, I mean, they'll,
I think that building's worthy of repairing.
yeah.
It was scary when I was walking in there. Any suggestions for course of action, Tom? I mean, we can't just go walk the property without the owner's permission. I don't know if she'll give it or not, but even at that point, maybe a multi-board walkthrough?
Yeah, this is probably something we might need to ask for some resources. Would town council be able to chime in on the first of all, I did not witness, although I do see some aerials and some photos of vehicles and what are they saying? They're saying vehicles in wetlands, oil cans all over the property, paint chemicals poured over the years into the wetlands. I mean, that's something we can't see, but if is there, there's probably enough refuse in there to say this needs to be cleaned up. The board can send out a letter. But I think they're referring to 67 Hartford, not 65.
Yes. So if the property at 65 was sold, then there is revenue, should be a revenue available. I don't know their financials, but there should be money available to have this woman have somebody clean it up. So we should act on it soon. As far as the anonymous letter, I get it, and I feel for these people. They're being respectful. They're asking for the town's help, and we should not ignore this and allow nothing to happen. With all the boards, I mean, it's not like it's a back road where it's not seen. It's right there for a lot of traffic, which doesn't make it right or wrong if it's a back road or a front road. But the thing is, this is really an eyesore, and it is a hazard to the water table and the health of all the neighboring wells, and it's all bad. It's got to be repaired.
Yeah. Well, the one for 65, we can easily send out a letter that systems failed. You need to upgrade it before anybody moves into the house. It needs to be fixed before water is being used. For 67. It's just a question of who we're going to identify as the responsible party, and to seek the ability to get on the property or someone to respond, or someone that we need to enforce, them to clean up. That's just the question I have. Is we just don't know who that is.
Is that for me to ask? To council about?
Yeah. If there's when there is when something's in probate, do we petition the court? I mean, I don't know if it is in probate, but do we petition the court that we need this to be fixed? It may be that simple before the nephew or the ex-wife can get the house. It needs to be cleaned. It needs to be, all the tires, the paint, chemicals, oil cans need to be removed. The septic system has to be upgraded.
Tom, will council have access to finding out if this properties are in probate, or if there was a will, has it been probated, or will they have that avenue? Because, as you're saying this, I'm thinking to myself, if there's court action, that this is going to be much better for us to have more teeth and have a hold on, let's get this cleaned up. Whereas if we were just dealing with a property owner, it might be a little tougher. I don't know if I'm wrong in thinking that.
No, that's exactly what I was thinking. If they're all waiting, because if you didn't have a will or something and they're all waiting to see who gets what, well, we stake the claim that it needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
In the courts.
You had noted a few seconds ago, a minute or two, you noted that 65. We know that 65 is in failure. We didn't get a Title V definitive Title V inspection on that, did we?
No.
I didn't see anything, but we can notify them it is, so we don't need the inspection. We know that it is.
Okay.
So we send out a letter.
Okay.
Systems in failure. We understand the property is just transferred without a Title V inspection report. you're notified that it's in failure. The house is empty. You must have it upgraded prior to anybody moving in.
Missy, do you have the letter that Matt Pichelle and I delivered to 67 that day? That would have been around July because John Gibson pumped it on July 3rd. So maybe late June, we delivered a letter. Do you have that in your computer? Because we demanded a Title V on that letter.
That's not it. Hold on. The letter, it just says, from what you witnessed of the raw sewage coming up from the bathtub, this is a violation of the following codes: 310 CMR 1500, State Sanitary Code Title 5, 15.024, violation of 310 CMR 15, Section 8, 310 CMR, the State Sanitary Code failure, 15.03, failure to protect the public health, also groundwater, 105, and it just says, you are hereby ordered to start repair of the system immediately. The septic system must be pumped by a licensed septic hauler within 24 hours of receipt of this order. A Title V inspection will be done by a state certified Title V inspector and will be submitted to this office within 10 days of the receipt of this order.
I thought we had, yeah. And we never got anything like that.
Never got it.
No. Okay, so that's one right there. Anything that we do would be a follow-up on that letter, just so we all refreshed on that.
Yeah, we could probably just say it's a failure. Needs to be upgraded. They don't even have to do the Title V. They just have to go right straight to repair, upgrade it to compliance, maximum feasible compliance, whether it needs a tight tank or if they can do an upgrade by, they would have to move the wells and stuff like that, but we'll leave it up to them before they, start living back in the house, because they're going to have sewage back in the bathroom, in the tub.
Right.
Okay. So Missy, you and I can start that letter.
Okay.
To 65.
Yep. And then we can work on, and then I can contact, I'll contact Kim to ask to speak to council as far as the legal course we need to go as far as the situation of who owns the property and an estate and stuff like that. But I think in the meantime, do you think you guys should be doing sounds going to sound horrible, but a drive-by of what you can see physically from the street and start working on orders from that?
I would say so. List what we can see that is health code violations. Like refuse. If it looks like they created a little mini landfill, that's I am not sure what they're zoned for. As far as their auto shop operation, but it doesn't mean that they can, bury vehicles and have leaky radiators and whatever. That just allows them the ability to park vehicles on the property, not let them, dissolve the fluids into the ground.
Missy, have you by any chance checked to see what zoning is on that address?
I'm pretty sure I can look it up, but I'm pretty sure I just got to walk to the other side of the room. I am pretty sure it's residential, but I will be right back.
That may be under a zoning
grandfather.
Grandfathered in, yeah. But that means it has to be in continual use, I believe. I got to remember what the grandfathering clause is on this one. If if it's not in use over 6 months, sometimes they lose it. But that's something the zoning officer could figure out.
I think you're right on that because I remember hearing that before, but not only that, but when the owner of the property and the business passes away, doesn't that grandfather become null and void if the property has not been sold or transfer of business ownership?
Yeah, that's something that the zoning officer and town council might have to.
Yeah.
chime in. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I looked at the map. It's general residential. There's nothing on there that states that it's any kind of business zone. But again, like you guys were saying, because I think he's been there since 1962, and that was pre-zoning. So
Yeah.
definitely something for council to be involved with, I think.
Also, Missy, would you please take some notes and would you email or contact Lorianne
Yeah.
and ask her to check into what Tom and I were just talking about? We feel that the property was grandfathered due to his going into business in 1962 prior to the zoning laws, but the owner of the property has passed away. He has not operated out of that building for a long time. I can't attest to exactly how long it's been, but it's been quite a while that the doors don't even work on the building. I was there. They're all dilapidated. They're broken. And also, he's gone. The business was not transferred of ownership to anybody. Does she have any recommendations or action to be taken?
Okay.
Please. Thank you.
Hey, greetings all. FYI, Tom's on the call. My apologies for being late.
Greetings. I said hi when you came in. I don't know if you heard me.
No, I didn't.
Écoutez. Alan, do you have any input for 65 and 67 discussion?
The only thing that I have is where that property is so close to the road, I'm sure that all departments that could possibly be involved in this could probably stand at the curb and make the same determination that they could if they were to walk the property. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. I mean, I'm sure when he went into business, there were a lot of things we didn't know any better about. And most likely, he didn't keep up with the times as to what was hazardous and what wasn't. So, someone might not even want the property. It might be such an expense to clean up. I'd hate to see the results of a 21E on that property.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, I mean, again, we didn't know better back then. And if you didn't keep up with the times, God knows what's in that soil. Aside from the fact that, the building probably isn't salvageable, what do you got? I mean, I kind of feel bad for the widow who inevitably, if she's the closest kin, is going to inherit the property and the problem. But again, I think the most important thing is all boards or departments that would be involved with this, I'm sure, can stand on the curb and make a determination. The unfortunate thing is, because the complaint was anonymous, it's not like we can even reach out to whoever made the complaint to let them know that we're working on it. That's the drawback to someone making, an anonymous complaint. Back to you.
One of a few different drawbacks, which, again, they're being respectful in their letters and they're asking for our help and our assistance for, all the boards concerned, because it is being what the worst part about the whole thing, in my opinion, is the swamp in the backyard, the water table. The yard is a mess. Yes, it is. And it's, if it was out in the woods somewhere, it would not be as bad. Still be bad, but not quite as bad as being right there on the wetlands. Missy, do you know if the woman that living in 67 I know that the children are Bud's grandchildren. Was Bud married to this woman? Do you know? Is that his wife?
That is his wife, from my understanding, yes.
His widow, okay. Because I've never actually heard that. I don't know what difference it makes, but it's just from my own understanding. And the children are his grandchildren from their daughter?
My understanding is they did not have children together. I don't think Bud had children. And so these would be step grandchildren.
Okay, so where I'm going with that is I'm wondering about ownership of the property being willed to somebody. Is there somebody else in line, the daughter, or stepdaughter, or whoever, that may have taken ownership by means of a will? But if the wife is still around, the widow, then I wouldn't imagine that would be an avenue, but just something for discussion and thought.
Yeah, the stepson did. The stepson took power of attorney to sell the 65 Hartford Ave West, but only 65 Hartford Ave West. So he was authorized to allow the sale to go through when, sorry, what's his name, Bud?
He was still alive at the time.
He was still alive at the time, and but he was running out of time. It was within the last 3 weeks of his life that he took that, granted that authority. And specifically, the deed says that the wife is not on the deed. It was specific on one of the deeds. So I don't know what that means or why.
That doesn't make sense. Say that again, please.
It specifically said that that his, on the deed, it specifically said that the wife was not owner. It specifically said that.
That's interesting to have that terminology on a deed, huh?
Yeah, I can't remember which one it was. Missy, did I send that over to you? That one?
Oh, I
Probably.
remember.
I don't know. I could send over that stuff if you're interested.
So what do you guys want to do for the next step as far as moving forward with this property?
Okay.
You're going to email Kim and
Yeah.
ask counsel for help.
Right.
And you're going to email
Lori Ann.
and express some concerns about that, see if that has any avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Tom, do you have any, you're coming out here when? Friday to meet with Tom? What's his name?
Fred, yeah.
Yeah, him. Yeah, him. Will you have time? Will you have time on Friday after or before, whenever you and Fred meet, to go to this property? And as Alan stated, maybe we can knock on the door. I don't know, but even if we just walk the curbing and see what we could see, I don't know if that, it's just to give some more understanding.
Yeah. Yes. Hey, let me read to you. This is part of the deed. I, the undersigned, Orland Stevens, hereby declare that under penalties of perjury, and I and my spouse, Dawn Stevens, who is not an owner of the property, confirm that the subject property is not now nor has ever been a place of my residence for myself or my spouse. So that's what I was getting at. It specifically says that he was not the owner. Is numbered 65 Hartford Avenue West.
Oh, okay.
For that property. So, okay. All right. So Friday, I'll give Fred a call to meet up with him on Friday, and then right afterwards I can head over to 67 Hartford Avenue
West.
West.
And if by chance, when you do talk to Fred, if his appointment is in the afternoon and first, earlier in the day works for you, I should be available. The job I'm working on in Blackstone, I should be freed up by Friday, that I would be able to meet you. And I don't know about Alan or Tom, if they would like to join us, more the merrier.
Yeah, it'd be
Please give me a
interesting to
shout
see.
out. Yeah, please give me a shout out and I will try to attend. Thank you.
Okay. Tom?
Yeah, same, yeah, I think, the more
Okay.
eyes on it, the better. Yeah, thank you.
Just,
If, when,
just
when,
please, it's
when
Missy, just,
Tom Ryder finds out from Fred, Tom Ryder will call me, and from there, I will call the two of you, and Missy's probably gonna wanna post this as a meeting.
I was just gonna say, if Tom needs to contact me, because if you call any of them, someone can interpret that as an illegal meeting. So if this is truly going to happen, I don't have time to post a meeting. Meeting has to be done 48 hours.
In view of the facts that we have, and we're responding to a complaint on a serious situation, would you check with either Ellen or council and ask if it's really necessary for that standard?
Yep, like I said, I just want to make sure you guys are covered, but I will check with Ellen in the morning.
If anybody comes by snapping pictures, I'll just duck down and hide out of the way.
Yeah, good luck. If
Well, you know,
I
I
may
may run away.
If I may, I think that there is a certain sense of urgency here. If the EPA has been contacted, we certainly can't sit with our hands in our pockets, even though, you know, they know that we're on the job. We certainly have to act in some way. So I don't see how anybody could find an issue with this. And, you know, if we can't all be there, we can't all be there.
It might be something under an emergency, but I would just want to I'll just want to double check with Ellen, just so that, you know, just to cover everybody.
No, thank you.
Your concern is appreciated, Missy. Thank you. All right, Tom, so when you talk with Fred, and again, if you're going to meet in the afternoon, then you can call, we can meet in the morning, or vice versa. You have my cell phone number, and I will wait to hear from you.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so the next thing we'd like to move on to, Missy, unless you have, do you want to do the addendum, or do you want to do the private wells? As far as the septic system during the winter, let's put that off because we've got a lot more to talk about. We've already talked about a bunch so far. Which would you like to talk about first, Missy, VNA or private wells?
I would like, just because Tom's still here with us, is discuss the private wells. Reason being is I just recently found out that there's going to be another subdivision coming into town. It's going to be duplexes. It's going to be, so you're going to have one building, 2 units. That building and units will have a system that those two will share, and one well. So I don't know if you guys, you know, I don't know if you guys want to move forward with this or what Tom's thoughts are.
Well, to revert back to our last discussion when we were all together, the concern is the wells not producing properly for someone who's owning a property and owning their own well. In my opinion, I know it's a cost, but these are builders that we're dealing with, and I feel bad for the additional cost. I do, but it's in reality we're protecting the people that are buying the houses. So I feel that if a well does not produce quantity enough to feed 2 houses, then it should be a second well. How do you guys feel, Tom?
Well, I would concur. I think we need to err on the side of our residents that are coming into the town and would have an expectation. Granted, I do understand where potential extra expense might come in for a contractor, but I think a resident's entitled to have, you know, proper operation of their well water. So that's how I would kind of look at it, how I would come at it. Andy?
Pretty much the same. Thank you, Alan.
Yeah, I would echo everything that Tom said, and just add that unfortunately, if you didn't grow up with a well, and now you have one. It's an education all by itself. And I've heard a lot of stories. Knock on wood, I haven't experienced it myself entirely, but even over time, the well that you drilled, the production and the quality of the water can fluctuate. So, even if we hold them to 5 gallons per minute per unit, it might test that way, but 2, 3, 4, 10 years down the road, I would say that there's a pretty good chance that it's not going to produce that way, and or the quality of the water could possibly change for not the better. Back to you.
And the other part of this situation is the formula that Tom bestowed on us, which is confusing to me, as to how fast a well will recover. It's not just a matter of how much it will produce, but the recovery time is very important. Case in point, my neighbor across the street, she's single, lives on one side. The people on the other side have 3 children, and there's an exorbitant amount of laundry being done, and from time to time that well goes dry because it's one well, 2 pumps. So everybody should be in control of their own facility, utilities, whatever you want to call it. The one thing that I brought up last meeting about this subject is I believe that we have a 10-foot separation in our private well regulations for boundaries. I think that we should instill some kind of boundary distance between an existing, and not an existing, but a neighboring well. Tom Ryder, could I have your recommendations on that, please?
So for neighboring wells, I mean, like in Title V, we have like a 10-foot offset to property line, so you'd be looking at a 20-foot separation, a minimum for and that specifically is just to make sure you're not close to the property line. So yeah, a 20-foot. I think I've seen 20 feet with other towns. And I wonder if I have that information. Do you want me to give you a list of offsets for?
Yes, please.
Okay.
If you have them here.
Yeah, I might have it handy in a few minutes, but I probably could more efficiently probably just send them over.
Okay. So what are your thoughts on what we're discussing, Tom? I believe that you're of the same thought process that we've discussed last meeting and this meeting, that in the event of a condo type situation, each unit, unless a well produces 20 gallons a minute. Am I correct?
Yeah, as far as having each unit having their own well, or each structure having their own well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, my opinion is like when you want to be in control of your own well, either that or have it all wrapped into one where a public water supplier maintains it, tests it, and files the reports. So I mean, yeah, that was my opinion. I would rather have control of my own well. I just pulled up a regulation, and I showed 20 feet for Hopkinton Board of Health regulations, 20 feet from other private wells, wellhead to wellhead.
That's the number I was thinking.
Yeah.
So I think that makes sense. We're going to have a public hearing for this, if I'm correct, right, Missy, to change our regulations?
My understanding, and Tom Ryder, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the only time that you're required to have a public hearing is when you're changing or adding to Title V. Something like this, you might want to be able, you might want to put it in a public hearing with a notice and everything, but I think it's just requiring a regular posted meeting. Is that right, Tom?
Yes, but after the regulations met, I think you need to post it either once or twice afterwards. That's a new requirement someplace.
Would the
I can
town
double-
website be okay with that? Would that suffice for something like that?
I'd have to double check where the actual requirement is, but
Okay.
after a meeting where it's discussed and the regulations created, as long as it's not a Title V, I think it's just an advertisement in the paper. And it may be one advertisement or two, I'm not sure, I can't remember.
That they made the changes or they did the changes?
That they made the changes.
Okay.
Whereas Title V, you're required to post it in the paper before, conduct the hearing, and then post it afterwards too. And then also say specifically, well, I think all the regulations are, you have to say specifically why the regulations are coming into effect. Okay.
Tom, in regards to the recharging or what's the word, the well recovering.
Yeah.
The recovering the well, I know you have a standard for a one dwelling well. The 5 gallons per minute is one part of it, one aspect of it, but the recovery part of it, which I have a hard time following, would we have to double those figures as far as recovery? If we had one well and it was going to produce 20 gallons a minute for 2 duplexes.
Yeah. No, I'd say, I think 85 is a standard recovery, whether it's for a residential or a public water supply. That 85% recovery level is standard.
Okay.
You know, clearly, if you have a public water supply, you need a lot bigger area of influence to generate that 85% recovery. So you really need a good water producing area. So that's why those are all taken before, you know, usually like near rivers and stuff like that, you'll see them. But 85 is a standard.
Okay, so if we had someone that's building a duplex and they drill one well and they test it and they say this well produced 22 gallons a minute and it recovered the 85% in the time frame allotted, would you feel comfortable, and do you think that we would be okay in approving one well for that situation, and having the mechanism in place, whereas if in fact that well did not produce 20 gallons a minute, it was only 6, then we can say to them, okay, we can't accept that, you need to drill another well. Do I have that? Am I understanding that correctly? That would be a good avenue for us?
Yeah, I'd say a 22 gallon per minute producing well, that would be actually a very good well for multiple units. Whereas if you're getting under 5, I think you're starting to have issues regarding with supply. You know, the more you tack onto that well. So there's the Hopkinton regs. You know, when I was looking at this years ago, we determined 1,200 gallons, and that's basically pumping the well dry several times, and then letting the water around it influence, and then checking a day later to make sure that you can at least pump 5 gallons per minute average, and then recharge 85%. That's supposed to be sufficient. There was a little caveat on the 2 gallon per minute. The water's starting to drain down. I think that's the point where we say that it's failed for a single family house.
Okay.
If it can't pump 2 gallons per minute the last 30 minutes. I think if you're looking at 5 gallon, if you can't pump the 5 gallons at the last 30 minutes for a multifamily house, maybe that's maybe that's what we'll be looking at.
Tom Ryder, would this be something that you could write up for us as far as all that we just discussed? And we can review that and approve your recommendations. Can you do that for us, something like that?
Yeah, I can put together. Let me put together a table first.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that we're under the same idea, and then just kind of summarize it that way, and then see how to plug it in to a code.
Okay.
All right.
That would be great. Thank you.
All right, and specifically looking at quantity, not quantity, although quality is important too, but offsets and quantity right now, right?
Correct. Yes. Tom Fickner, any thoughts before we change subjects?
No, I think we're off to a good start, and we'll use Tom's guidelines there as a basis to kind of pin down the changes we'd be looking to make. One question with regard to the properties that were referenced. Is there any property at this point that is on the verge of doing something like this?
Yes. 16 units, is my understanding.
So in what kind of time frame? So have plans already been submitted for the property?
Missy?
Preliminary plans have been submitted to the planning board. Or,
Okay.
yeah. It's the beginning stages of it with the planning board.
Okay, so nothing beyond that at this point. I was just thinking in terms of, how quickly we're going to have to act if we're going to make adjustments to try to help stay ahead of whatever, engineering plans might come forward from a septic, I should say from a well perspective, for the property, if they haven't already been preliminarily created. May not be, I don't know if we want to do anything communication-wise to this particular group that's developing the property ahead of time as an FYI, or?
Yeah, if they submitted preliminary plans, there could be a comment that just an FYI, the board is reviewing the private well requirements, regulations, and there will be updates on this. So just give them the heads up that that there will be changes to the well requirements.
Yeah,
Tom,
just trying to be fair. That's all.
Yes.
Sure. Tom Ryder, these plans, as they come back and then get shipped back and then come back, they're not going to be coming to the Board of Health per se right away. How do we get our note on that somehow on that note chain so that they can, I don't think it's going to be coming through the Board of Health office until the systems are designed, right?
No, the planning board is required to submit plans to Board of Health. Hopefully they've been doing that. But yeah, they are required to submit plans, preliminary and definitive, and site
okay.
plans. Yeah.
News to me. Missy, have they been doing that?
Yes, they have. The other thing too
Excellent.
is This was an informal discussion with the planning board last Monday for this open space subdivision.
Okay, so it wasn't a formal application, but
No.
Missy has sent over preliminary plans to me in the past. Subdivisions are, some site plans. So I've seen them. They have. I'm not sure. Sometimes the planning board doesn't.
Well, hopefully they will. Alan, any thoughts?
Would it be beneficial to get any input from any of the local well and pump people that are working in this area? Would that help us at all? Back to you.
That's probably going to be a biased response from anybody we talk to, because they're going to say, yeah, that's a great idea. We need to put wells everywhere. You know what I mean?
See, there I go again, wishing the best of everybody.
I don't know. I don't want to say yes or no that would be a good or a bad idea. I don't, in my opinion, I just don't think that that's necessary, but it may be. Tom, how do you feel about that?
Well, sometimes it's good to have some, compensation pieces of, at what problems do the well drillers find when they see a site plan. Hey, the engineer wants me to put it over here, but obviously there's a huge pile of manure, or that's a big outrock crop. Do they really expect me to drill through that? Points taken like that, or I know where they cheat. They don't like to go back for that 24 hours. They don't like to go back the next day. I'm sure of that. So those are the pieces where I know they'll say no, but yeah, as far as the drilling more wells, yes.
Yeah. Tom,
I think it's important to get some of their feedback, so that so we know the problems that they see when they start a system.
Tom,
Yeah.
Victor, any thoughts on that?
Oh, I'm sure nobody could possibly be cheating out there. It's probably a nice, I think I understand Alan's sentiment. It's probably a nice thing to have as an information piece, as a data piece. But, we have to take that, I think, with potentially a grain of salt. But there could be situations where, especially we have maybe in a new build out, new land being developed, it's not so much potentially an issue, but we get a lot of non-conforming type of situations, and the ledge aspect that exists around our area could be an impediment to potentially drilling, a lot of wells. And a thought that just occurred to me is, in the case of environmental restrictions like that, is something like a modification where you may only be able to get one well. Do you simply a modification of the pumping aspect of the well that would generate the flow one would want to see? But no, I'm all for trying to get as much input from different sources as possible. I think it's good collaborative effort. Andy?
All right, thank you. So Tom, Victor, Tom Ryder, would you put that notes together for us when you get a chance, please? We'd be looking forward to seeing something.
Okay.
Thank you. I believe we're done with private well rigs at this time. We've talked about a lot of different avenues. Missy, I did not ask you, do you have any thoughts on this subject before we change gears?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. Tom Ryder, thank you very much.
Okay.
At this time, the septic systems thing, we're going to talk about another meeting when we have less on the agenda. But thank you very much for coming and joining us once again.
Okay, all right, I'll
Thanks,
talk to you this week, all right?
Thank you,
We'll
Tom.
look
I'll
forward-
see you Friday.
Yep, okay.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.
VNA addendum, Tom, I read your email and, I was like to get your thoughts on that. I followed, for once I followed an email. I'm getting better at that. But you want to talk about your concerns about that wording?
Yeah, not so much, I guess, a concern. I was just trying to be consistent with it, in terms of using that word dedicated when it came to, the regular support services that we normally receive, versus what they're looking to do for us from a COVID perspective, in providing a dedicated individual. There, with regard to COVID, I would understand the concept of the word dedicated, given that it's, limited in its description, it's specific for that area only. But maybe it was just a thought, maybe when it was being created, that we do have dedicated staff at our disposal for our regular activities. But I think we probably all know, even though we have a regular contact in Ann, the staff is probably general, as the VNA and general services, multiple communities. That was kind of the crux of my my thought. Andy?
If I remember correctly, last meeting, when we just did discuss dedicated, Alan had some thoughts on this issue also. Alan?
Yes, the only thoughts that I had, and they really weren't thoughts, I was just keying off of the first addendum that was sent to us, where they proposed having a dedicated nurse as far as the extra work for COVID went. So I wanted to make sure that if that's what they're proposing, that's what we're going to get. So I was just keying off of what their proposal was, or what their offer was, and what they were telling us that they were giving us for that $3,500 a month. I don't recall the word dedicated being used somewhere else, but if it was, again, if we looked at the original proposed addendum that had the errors on it, that was their wording, not ours, to my knowledge. Back to you.
That's the way I remember it too. Any rebuttal, Tom?
Yeah, I'm not sure if on the original, I don't have it in front of me for what Michelle had provided to us in a version. I don't know, Missy, you might have access to it. I wasn't sure if the word dedicated staff was used in their presentation to us, or if it was just something that came up in the addendum revision that came from town council. So I'm not sure, but again, it's, just maybe semantics, but I didn't want to have them view this addendum, have the VNA view it, and then look at it and think, oh, the town of Mendon thinks that in addition to providing a dedicated nurse for the COVID, that they're also getting dedicated staff for the regular services that they, also provide. Andy?
Missy, do you have any thoughts on these?
Nope. Right now, I'm just going through emails trying to find the original addendum.
So Tom,
AJ, if I may.
Go ahead.
AJ, if I may.
Yes.
For a 300% annual increase, it better be dedicated staff.
Well, we're talking about we're not talking about the new contract, are we? Aren't we just talking about?
No. You're right, Tom. I'm thinking ahead of the $17,000 they want to hit us for, and it's very possible. Yeah, it's very possible that the first use of dedicated, referring to Ann, is used in a different manner, like dedicated as they've been, dedicated to serving us versus dedicated being a specific.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, that could be.
I mean, just like they said that, they've been providing service to us in good faith, and we've had this, good faith relationship. So I think the word, if it is used twice, I think the word is used differently or has a different meaning in each line. Back to you.
So you raise an interesting question, and I hadn't thought of it that way. Are we interpreting dedicated unintentionally from the meaning it was intended to represent? Because thinking about it the way you just mentioned it, maybe when they talked about the nurse in regard to COVID, maybe they didn't actually mean dedicated from the standpoint of a specific person. Maybe they just meant an individual who would be very much there for our needs and service us in a quote-unquote dedicated service capacity.
Good point.
You know what would answer all these questions? Very simply.
Cold beer.
Well, besides that, that's too many carbs. Come on, Jim.
Well, if Michelle would
See the fluff ball. My goodness.
What's that?
Hold on. I'm sorry.
If Michelle would attend our meetings.
There you go. Good answer.
Yeah. Then there'd be no wondering if it's this or wondering if it's that. But all these are all great questions for both of you, and I appreciate it, all your input. So don't get me wrong. I just don't have an answer myself.
If I may, I think that's why I was kind of trying to be firm on wanting to know who this dedicated COVID nurse was. And if they provide us with a person and a contact number, then that would be sort of our dedicated person versus someone who is dedicated to doing their job.
Exactly.
It's funny how these words and this terminology can mean, multiple things. And you're absolutely right. A lot of this could have been avoided if Michelle would just dial in. It's too bad.
Yep.
Back to you.
So we have a letter. Go ahead, Tom.
Well, I was just going to say in follow-up then, why don't, I am all for, I just raised the point about the verbiage, but I'm also fine with just letting it go as is if we don't want to mess with it, because I think the goal here is I think we want to get a letter off to them is the more important piece, and then let them look at the addendum as presented and let them see what they come back with. If they come back with any objection, maybe they're fine with it, and then it's sort of a quote-unquote moot point.
That's the important part right now. I mean, we want to get it as 100% right as we can, and we all strive to be as exact as we can with everything that we do, and all avenues coming together make for a good result, all four of us. And I think that the most important thing, like you just said, is to get this letter out. Not so much the letter, but the addendum, because the clock is ticking, and we really got to nail this down soon. Do you agree, Missy?
Yep, I do. This letter and the addendum needs to get out as soon as possible because we've got a bill on my desk for January. We've got a bill on my desk for February, which I have not sent in. So to get any kind of resolution and getting even the description of the bills that you want or any kind of meetings, I do know the VNA, from my understanding, is meeting about the COVID clinics and what they're going to be able to offer. So I'm sure there's going to be another addendum possibly coming along also for clinics if they're going to participate and then bill the towns that they service. So I think we need to get this out as soon as possible.
Especially when we just got approval for this, for our clinic, and we're going to be needing them for issuing vaccines.
So just a question, Missy, about what you said about the bills. You mentioned I think you used the term sent in the January bill. Is that what you said?
No, I said sitting. I have a bill from January sitting on my desk. The bill that, the very first bill that we got, Kim went ahead and paid. But then the bill for January came in, the bill for February came in, and they're sitting on my desk because you guys have advised me not to pay it until we come to a resolution on the addendum itself. So there's been a total of 3 bills. One was paid, and that was supposed to be for covering services, either from July to December, September to December, however they want to cover it, of 2020.
Okay, great. Thank you for the clarification. Thanks.
So are we all in agreement that Missy can put this letter in the mail, in the addendum in the mail tomorrow?
I am.
Yes, I am also, and there is a possibility that they may reject it.
There is. That's why we got to get this going, because the contract date is ending soon, and we owe them money, and we need to somehow come up with an answer for what we're facing. Missy, have you had any response from that other VNA company?
No, she emailed me with her available dates. I emailed her and I haven't heard her back. I told her, whenever you're available, just give me a call, and I haven't heard anything.
Okay, could you please send me?
Oh, sorry.
Missy?
Which one was that, Missy? Just curious.
Hold on, let me just check. Oh, I gotta search the emails. Her name was Becky or Rebecca.
Rebecca. Tom, I was at visiting my aunt in the Blair house, and the VNA nurse was in there assisting my aunt. And when we were done with the visit, I got to talking with her. It's a Milford-based VNA. No, it might be Holliston-based. I forget now. But anyways, I got in contact information, put Missy in touch with them, and they went back and forth. This woman gave the information to Rebecca, and Rebecca reached out to me, and then I put her in touch with Missy, and we're trying to get some kind of together. Maybe she can join our meeting some night. That would be the best. And it's just another VNA company that hopefully we can find an alternative to Salmon VNA. Salmon VNA got sold out. We're all aware of that, right?
Yeah, Missy had mentioned that.
So the name of the company, according to her, where she signs her emails, it's Care Tenders VS of Boston, LLC.
Oh, I thought it was more local than that.
It doesn't give an address of her actual office, though, so she could be, local.
I think actually the reason why I say thought it was Milford, because I think that woman gave me a business card somewhere. Would you just send a small note email, just checking in? Can we get together sometime, please? Something like that, something nice and quiet.
Yep.
Thank you.
And Boston could be their corporate, Andy, and they might have satellite up more out, in our area, which,
Sure.
which is a good thing. The reason I asked is I had kind of created a bit of a list, and I just didn't want to duplicate efforts. I know a couple of meetings back I mentioned about making some informal calls. So I had about 6 or 7 locations that I was going to reach out to just to introduce and see if there were an entity that could possibly provide services to the degree that, that we would require them from a municipality perspective.
By all means, we'll find somebody. So Missy will mail this out tomorrow. Anything else?
On the VNA, or we're moving on?
Moving on.
Okay, so
Big
typically,
wheels rolling, moving on.
what's that?
Big wheels rolling, moving on. You probably don't remember that song.
I do, actually. So normally we would start off the meetings with the COVID-19, any updates, and then I have the updates for COVID-19 clinics. So I just, if you've seen the newspapers for the Telegram, you know that Uxbridge, as a text I sent you last night, has been approved to be a mass vaccination site. It's in conjunction with quite a few other towns. We are actually going to go do the setup tomorrow. The press and the some of the state reps are coming Monday morning at 9 o'clock to the school to do a walkthrough, so we'll be there then. This tentative date for the clinic is for the first clinic is going to be March 22nd. It's a Monday. We'll be running clinics. Tentatively, this is the way Erin has it scheduled: Monday through Thursday from 9 to 1, and then from 4 to 8. And then they've decided to do a clinic, a satellite clinic, and with with Upton with Trish Parent, and she will run a clinic. She said, I'm guessing, she said a regular day, so I'm thinking maybe a 9 to 3, 9 to 4, so that way people can have their Saturday night to do whatever they've got to do. Erin has put in an order for 2,000 doses. We're not sure if she'll get that many, but we will have to do at least 750 a day. That's what they asked for. The good news is that we're allowed to take 25% of those doses. So if we got to 2,000, it'd be 500 doses to do kind of like private clinics. And the talk right now is possibly to do those doses for teachers and school staff and bus drivers. So I did reach out to Dr. Maruschek this morning, and asked how many employees, bus drivers, everything, and it's about 450, including bus drivers, to cover for the 2 towns. So I did reach out to the school head nurse over at Nipmuc. They are willing to help and assist in any way they can. So right now it's just we're trying to get together what do we have for staffing needs, volunteers, whatnot. I don't know if any of you are interested in volunteering. I don't know how many hours you want me to go over there, or if you're just going to leave it up to me. So it's great news. It's progress. It's going to be really helpful to the area. The other thing was the conversation that on some of the calls with DPH is talking about homebound residents who can't make it to VAS any kind of clinic, regardless of where it's at. There's a whole litany of questions that have to be asked. So I had asked back, a while back for Amy, the senior director, to keep a running list of what she thought would be homebound residents. So I reached out to her today, sent her the questions. She came back and said none of the Mendon residents would qualify for homebound vaccinations. They'd have to go to a clinic of some sort, whether it's a CVS, whether it's ours in Uxbridge or Gillette, wherever. So that is the latest and greatest I have on clinics.
Missy, just a thought, when you mentioned the 450 for the school, buses, teachers, nurses, everything, it's my assumption that a fair, I don't want to say majority, but a fair amount of that number may already have their shots. People are finding their own ways right and left and getting their own vaccinations. So there's a good possibility that number could be stronger.
I think that number will probably come down. As of tomorrow, March 11th is when it officially opens up to teachers and to staff and whatnot. But if you have any other staff that maybe have 2 or more comorbidities or health conditions, they might have already gotten the shot. So I don't think the number is going to be that high of 450 that we need for the district. But, if people can go and get it somewhere else, by all means, don't wait for us. But at least we have a number to go with, that a round number off the top and something to work with.
The baseline, absolutely.
Right.
Cool. All good news. Tom, any thoughts?
No, it's all good. Thank you, Missy. I was glad to hear from the homebound standpoint that that's not something that that we need to be concerned with. With regard to that, then, do we need to formally respond to that Google survey to give them an answer one way or another?
I don't know. I mean, we don't have anybody to qualify, but I can reach out to Ron O'Connor or Mike Coughlin to see if we need to, or Jana Ferguson to see if we need to respond to it, because the choices was, nope, we're going to take it on as the Board of Health, or we could bring the state in, and where they don't, we don't have any qualifying. I'll reach out to them and see what I can find out.
Okay, thank you for all your efforts.
Alan?
And-
Alan, do you have something to join in?
Yeah, I mean, all good. And, I mean, our first clinic isn't going to take place until 3/22. I would hope that, anyone that can get an appointment would take it and not wait for after 3/22 to try to get it. The other thing is, I wonder if the senior bus is available to take any of our seniors to Uxbridge if they needed transportation. Back to you.
I think that's something that we can work out, most definitely, especially now that if it's more controlled in a way, as far as making appointments and knowing what our populations are, and with it being more localized, I think it's more likely that we could get at least the senior van. But I will reach out to Amy to see what her feelings are for that.
God bless Dan Byer. I'm on Facebook as we're talking, and there's a picture of the Uxbridge High School on Dan posted it on the Mendon website. Former Uxbridge School building named Regional COVID-19 vaccination site, and then there's a big, huge article he wrote. God bless him.
Very nice.
Is that you? Is that you looking out the second story window, AJ, trying to skip class?
Don't jump! Don't jump! High school was not fun.
There's one other thing I wanted to bring up to you guys that I've been working on. If you've read some of the emails, especially from Connor from CMRPC, there is a grant opportunity for kind of like shared services, things like that. I was on a meeting yesterday with him, Jean Ganatic from Northbridge, Jackie from Milford, Douglas and Millville. And there's a large amount of money that would be available to towns to help shared services, like when it comes to septic inspectors or food inspectors or health agent and whatnot. And Jean and I both pushed that we were very interested in working with towns. I hope I didn't overstep my bounds with you guys, but with Lenny being out, Danielle is not readily available all the time. It's got to be after hours before we can get her out here. And if we have an emergency or something going on, Jean is in the same boat over in Northbridge as we are. So we're going to push forward with Connor and try and see if any of the other towns, whether it's Upton or Uxbridge, maybe Sutton, if anybody else is looking to share and have a regional health agent, so to speak, or health agents, that could be helpful to us. So that's also in the works, just so you know. And I also made it clear that we were not looking to replace Lenny, how Lenny was out right now, that we need some backup. But also when Lenny does decide to come back, if that's his choosing, if something's going on, he's not available, we always needed a backup health agent to do those types of work. So I just wanted to let you know that that was also going on. Andy?
It's all good, thank you. I don't have anything else unless somebody else does.
One question I had for you, Missy, with regard to the grants. I saw something with regard to PHEP regional purchases, with regard to the possibility of obtaining additional items, so to speak.
Yep.
Is that something that we're entertaining or have a need for?
I already filled out the survey. I already sent it back.
Cool. So we got a few things on the wish list?
Yes. One of them was an iPad, which I think would come in handy.
Cool, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very good.
Missy,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't, or we didn't answer your question as to how many hours we wanted you to be available for this clinic.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say whatever your best judgment, but I'm not sure if you know what the other members think about that. And the other thing is, I keep forgetting to ask, but I need another one of those disposable Tyvek suits.
Okay.
I don't know if we have any more of those available, but the one that I had on hand pretty much deteriorated in the back seat of my truck.
Sure. Yep.
So I should, you know, replenish my stock in case I have to respond to something and suit up.
Yep. Nope.
Sure, Ellen, you were probably cleaning out your septic tank again. I know you.
I mean,
Get right in there, get down and dirty.
I mean, as far as my hours and everything, I know Uxbridge, they're looking for commitments. They're looking for, especially from the health department. I'm willing to help them out and be there as often as I possibly can. I'm going to talk to Erin, Diane, and Jean Ganatic tomorrow when we go to set up the site, so that way they're all set for Monday morning to see more of what they're looking for. My understanding too is their police and fire chiefs have been in communication with the other police and fire chiefs. So I'm not really sure what Mendon has dedicated, if any. I know they were asking more questions, and the fire and the police chiefs were going to go back to the towns and let the other chiefs and stuff, let them know what they were looking for, what kind of setup. So, I'm willing to be there as much as I can. I think, at least for when it first starts, to make sure that they need what they need to get this off the ground.
All right, I'll personally, until I start working full time, I'll jump in wherever I can. So, let me know what they think they might need, and if I need to come up with some kind of a schedule, so it is a commitment. I'll do whatever I can until I go back to work full time.
Okay, just keep in mind, like right now, the hours are Monday through Thursday, 9 to 1, and then 4 to 8. If anything changes, I'll let you guys know.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to do, our part and represent Mendon well.
That's what you said, Alan, is pretty much what I told Missy this afternoon as far as my schedule myself also. You and I are tough to pin down, being self-employed and the weather changing. But while we're on the weather changing subject, what's everybody's thoughts on the hour for starting our meetings? Are we going to stay at 6, or are we going to move back to 7, or are we going to wait another meeting or two? Alan?
I can still do 6 for maybe the next meeting or two.
That's pretty much
be.
where I am.
Yeah, I mean, I got to ease back into it. I'm not as young as I used to be, AJ.
Tom, are you okay with these hours? I mean, maybe we should go till 8 to make sure you get on with something.
Yeah, you might have to.
Ooh. Ooh.
Not a bad idea. Yeah,
So for right now, my understanding is that we're going to stay at 6 for at least one more meeting, possibly 2.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm at your
10-4.
guys' disposal with your work schedule. So whenever you need to make the change, it's fine with me.
Thank you.
Hey, Tom, I'd like to sign your nomination papers when they're available, please.
Well, if I could find a way to present them virtually to everybody in the town and get a virtual signature, that'd be awesome.
Tom,
you
leave it in the mailbox. You leave it in the mailbox. I'll drive by, sign it, and toot.
Okay, there you go. There's a way to do it. I like that idea.
So I'm looking at the calendar for your next meeting, and it would be March 24th, if that's okay with you guys.
So the 22nd is the first date of the vaccine. That's a Monday. And the 24th would be our meeting. Might not be a bad timing thing so that we can, I don't know if we'll be busy with the the vaccinations or what, but the 24th probably works well, no?
I'm in.
Yeah, fine with me. I know it just means that, that 4 to 8 time frame would take us out of play for that Wednesday, but I think we should
Yeah.
still have the meeting. Unless there's a real need, but,
We can have the meeting at the site.
You could,
oh, there you go.
could.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great idea.
You could do that because it's a public place.
Yep.
So,
How about the principal's office?
Yeah, bring
What do you
back too many
think,
bad
AJ?
memories for me.
You'll have to show me the way, Alan. I don't know how to get there.
Yeah, I've been there a few times, AJ.
All right, so are we going to do it virtual or are we going to do it there? It doesn't matter to me one way or the other, but 6 o'clock on the 24th.
sounds good.
Sounds good.
Any-
And why don't we leave the place to be determined?
Yeah.
Until Monday when Missy posts it.
Yeah.
Right.
Sounds good to me. All righty. Thank you, everyone.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Good night, all.
Good
Good night,
night.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.